Morning. It's April the 11th, Friday, in the Austin, Texas area. I'm Richard James. Now, this is the third in a series about bounty hunting. In our last series, we discussed about the ugly girl as a fugitive, and this time I'm going to tell you about the Gentleman Fugitive. He was a Middle Tennessee area drug dealer, and he made an awful lot of money. He had property and houses and businesses, and he was doing pretty well for himself. And he basically dealt with Vicodin. And he kept getting caught. He wasn't always too smart, but he kept getting caught by selling the caps to undercover officers. And he never knew them, but they all knew him. But every time he got caught, he was more than willing to share all of his money, to turn in the money, turn in the drugs, and then take the officers back to the other location where he had more stash. And he'd give it all up and go in, post bond, come out, and run again. So I don't know what time he was on the run from which charge at this point that I was brought in, but they weren't able to find him, and I was doing some case work through the TBI, that's the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, and I was assisting. He was one of their most wanted, and they were coming up dry. They couldn't find him anywhere. So I got brought in because he did happen to be one of my clients, one of my bondsman's cases. So I kind of joined my information with theirs, and I took on to my investigation, and I found out where he was. He'd actually fled to Key Largo. Well, he hadn't actually fled. That's wrong. He was running to Key Largo because he had a trip planned to Mexico or Jamaica to pick up another 20,000 caps of Valium. So he went off down there to have a sunny vacation, and he got on a cruise ship. And I got Fort Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department, Broward County Sheriff's Department, Police Department, the DEA, Customs, our Sheriff's Department, Middle Tennessee, out of the Nashville area. I got everybody joined together, and I had the date and time, so when he came walking down the plank, he had one suitcase with $19,000 in it, and one suitcase with 20,000 caps of Valium in it. They were big suitcases. So he came marching down the back gangplank, and he was just happy as punch, and then everybody surrounded him and took him into custody. But because I wasn't present, because I didn't have any jurisdiction in Florida at the time, other than the bounty hunting issue, but I wanted to stay back. I had other cases to work, but I had made the agreement with the TBI that he be brought back to us first so I could get my bondsman cleared of all charges. Then he could go back and face federal, state, everything else he had that was against him. But he was one of the nicest guys I ever met. He just about give you the shirt off his back, very happy. Every time he got arrested, we arrested him twice. And that was actually the third time when they picked him up and brought him back to Tennessee. He just never had a cross word for anybody, always happy. His family was happy. They wouldn't tell you where he was deliberately, but I was usually pretty inventive, and I got what I needed to know through other means from the family. Not realizing they were telling me where he was. He just was a super guy and an attitude, and he was just a friendly, good old boy down home, Middle Tennessee area man, and he just liked to make money the illegal way, and he made a ton of it. And I don't know where he is at this point today. I'd say hi to him, but I don't want to disclose his identity, because I'm sure he'd be waving at me from the TV set if I was to address him. But I think he knows who it is. That story, along with some others, are covered in the book that's at bountyhuntersecrets.com, Secrets of a Modern Day Bounty Hunter. It's a publication that's coming out in paperback form, and it's going to be covering the 20-plus year history I have, and having close to 5,000 arrests under my belt through my career. It's kind of hard to pick out any specific stories because they're all so different. There's not any one that's the best. There's not any one that's the worst or that I wished I hadn't done. Every one was an education. Every one was exciting. They didn't always come out the way you want them to. There's a few that got away, that got so far away or just was never found, and that's rare. That's 1 out of 10 don't get caught. Uh, but generally, you know, every story that I've got is just, I guess I could fill up a lot of books and put a lot of pictures with them. We always take pictures. And in most of the pictures that you see on the book or the website, you'll see people smiling or laughing, actually, and they're in handcuffs. They're under arrest, and it doesn't look real, really. If you look at the different pictures and see everybody they seem to be happy, relaxed, and that's the manner in which they were arrested and they were treated up all the way through to when we turn them over to the sheriff's department. I treat them like a human being. I give them dignity and respect. They kind of orchestrate the way the arrest will go. There's always 2 ways to do an arrest. There's the easy way and the hard way. I prefer the easy way. A lot of times we take people into custody. They just say, okay, I knew it was coming, tired of looking behind my back. Here I am, take me. And they're hungry, they're thirsty, they want to go by and see a family member, say their goodbyes, depending on if they know they're going to have some time that they're going to spend in jail. And we do that for them. Law enforcement's not going to handle it that way. They cuff them and stuff them, and they take them to the jail. They hardly talk to them. They don't want to advise them, give them any insight as to what's coming or what they could do to help them. And that's because they're calloused. They've heard it all. They don't have an interest there. Maybe the difference is they're paid by county taxpayers' money. We're paid by private money. We work just as hard, if not harder, for our arrest and for our paycheck. And every paycheck we have is walking around, because until we make the arrest, we don't get paid. That's why it's called a bounty. We're getting paid our reward, our bounty, for picking up and making the arrest. But you'll look at these photos in the book, and you'll see these people are happy, smiling, friendly, gregarious, and that's because they're being treated with something everybody wants: some compassion, some understanding, some dignity. You know, a lot of them still lie to you, to your face. They tell you, everybody always says the same thing: I was going to turn myself in tomorrow. Well, if I'd have been there tomorrow, they'd still be hiding under that pile of clothes under a bed, because they were going to turn themselves in tomorrow. We've got a local restaurant here called Joe's Crab Shack, and they've got a sign on the side of their building that says free crab tomorrow. So you come back tomorrow and they tell you, well, no, there's no free crab today, it's tomorrow. Well, that's the same way these folks are. They're going to turn themselves in tomorrow, and it never comes. So we help them along, we locate them, we get them under arrest, but we do treat them with the proper manner, and they appreciate that. A lot of them have told me, I've always appreciated, you'll see them maybe 6 months, a year later, they thank us for the way they were treated. And they say if it had been law enforcement, we'd be roughed up, mistreated, spoken ill to, and we appreciate the manner in which you took us into custody, you treated us as a human being, and we appreciate that. And I've had a couple that we've arrested a second time when they knew it was us. They just simply called us up or had the family say, look, y'all are after them, they're going to be so-and-so, they want to turn themselves into you. That's kind of rare, because it's hard to want to turn yourself in even though you know the people are going to treat you right. But a couple of, you know, they know it's coming, so they're going to have to go back to jail. Once it hits the warrant stage, there's no way to satisfy the warrant without the arrest. And they don't want to go surrender to the jail. It goes against their grain, and I guess you can understand that if you put yourself in their shoes. But in the next series, we'll try to discuss some of the oddest arrests that we've ever had. There's a bunch of those. They fall into that category of strange and bizarre. One of them was the 7.5, almost 8-month pregnant lady that was going to jump from the 2nd story to get away and thought she could make it. And we'll talk about that next time.